any of you know? Yeah, okay. I really feel sorry. I come this close before you start. Anyway, as the email I sent it said, we have a guest speaker today, and so I'm done. There you go.
Thank you, Professor Hill. And thank you to all of you for coming to this speaker session as a part of IST Startup Week. I'd like to ask you to please silence your cell phones during the session, but feel free to live tweet using the hashtag IST Startup. A few quick announcements. I was handing out passports at the beginning of the session. If you didn't get one, you can get one at the end. And make sure you get a sticker on your passport to show that you attended the session, because if you attend at least 10 sessions, you'll be eligible to win prizes. After CJ Reuter speaks, we will have a Q&A session. There are several ways to ask questions. You can just raise your hand and he'll call on you, or you can tweet using the hashtag IST Startup and we'll be monitoring that, or you can text Poll Anywhere with the number on the poster. You may be photographed during this session, so if you're uncomfortable with that, please move to the back of the room. Okay, CJ Reuter is a 17-year veteran of the online recruitment market. He is currently the Director of Enterprise Accounts and Client Success at Work4, the leading social recruiting solution provider, which leverages Facebook and other social websites to target relevant candidates and match them to employers' open positions. CJ has global experience in technology sales, sales leadership, and client success delivery in the internet and technology services field, with a focus on the recruitment and staffing industry. He has a background in selling HR and talent system software, targeted media, and recruitment consulting solutions. CJ was one of the first 100 employees hired at Monster.com, landing a sales role in 1997. After learning more about enterprise sales, he grew his career into management at Monster.com, eventually holding the position of Director, Global Accounts, upon leaving to work at Work4 in early 2012. So now I would like to hand it off to CJ Reuter.
Great, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Is this on? Okay, great. So I'm really excited to be back here. I'm a 91 graduate, which makes me seem really old, but I don't feel old. And also, I'm a fencer. So I came back this weekend. The fencing team, in case you guys didn't know, won their 13th national championship a couple weeks ago. So I was able to celebrate with them and go to the awards banquet. So my time at Penn State, for me, is just very, really memorable. And so thank you to the IC's team for reaching out, keeping in touch with me, and I'm happy to have this session. Please make this interactive. You guys are going to get a lot more out of this if you talk more than I do. So ask as many questions as you want. Just real quick on me, I almost look at myself as a student athlete, and then also I have my degree from Penn State, because that's kind of how I spent my time here, because I was always practicing and always traveling with the team. I traveled around the world and lived in Hawaii for quite a while, finding myself. Then I landed at Monster and stayed there for 15 years. So similar to, I think, the gal, if you were listening to the Verizon talk, Nikki, she has been at Verizon for 24 years after working at leaving Penn State, and she thought, I was never going to stay in the same place for this long. So I think I stayed at Monster that long because it was a startup, because they constantly gave me something else to do. I always had a new title. Every 2 years, my responsibility changed. And I think in today's work environment, if you don't challenge the people that work at your company and give them something fun to do and ask them what else they want to do in a couple of years, then you're at risk of losing them. So today I'll talk about retention, I'll talk about talent acquisition, and I'll talk about why I left to join Work4, which is basically a company owned by a couple of French guys, but based in San Francisco, and they had no global experience. They had all these global clients, and they had nobody that ever had actually managed a global relationship, which means you have to manage the relationship in each country and also at corporate, which is a whole different ballgame from a sales and marketing perspective. My Twitter is HR Knowledge. There's my email, and I'm on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn forever. So really, I want to cover three things. One is about why does talent matter? Did you guys, did anybody go to Taro's session? Yeah, a couple people? So he is a successful entrepreneur starting it up, and at the very end of the session, everyone's asking about who'd you pick as your third employee? How did this happen? Who do you trust? How do you build a team of people that you know aren't going to leave in 3 months? So why does it matter? And then leveraging your existing talent, and also you're marketing your brand. What's in it for me? Me meaning you. Why am I here talking to you guys about startups? And then the organization, right? When I say you, that could mean you, the employee, or it could be you, the CEO of a startup, right? It just depends what you guys want to do. And then what's the goal? So how do you keep on building a business that keeps your employees? What's the secret sauce? Because when I look at resumes today, and right now I'm hiring for 2 different positions, everybody has been around for 2 years and then they get a new job. And they're around for 2 years and they get a new job. And that's a job hopper. So 4 years ago, I'm like, oh God, that guy has no loyalty, or that woman has no loyalty to the company because they're gone in 2 years. But now I'm like, that's what people in Silicon Valley do, is they get experience in that business and they think they're an expert or have a personality conflict and they jump to another job. So it's just going to be a personal choice for you to be loyal to a company and get the right benefits, or to not be loyal and then job hop and think, okay, the grass is greener, or there's a better opportunity. So how many people think that eventually they'll be part of an executive team or own or operate your own company? Raise your hand. All right, smattering. How many people want to work for a startup in the next 5 years? Smaller. How many people want to work for a big company with a lot of process and then have, enough responsibility and go home at 5 o'clock? Yeah? Some of you there too? Okay, so it's about half and half. So take this talk that I'm giving you as however you want it to be. So it's going to be about talent and retention of employees, specifically around startups. If you want to ask a question about a company that's $1 billion, like Monster was when I left, and how they retained employees, we can talk about that also. There's a competitive advantage that a big company has that a startup doesn't. Employment brand, perks, benefits, but that's slowly changing. The allure of a brand new company and having influence in that organization versus just working for a company that you can just say the name and everyone goes, oh, that's a great company, you must have a great job. That all matters when you're deciding who to work for. So every startup has to solve a problem. So what is the problem right now with human resources? This is Fast Company, not that long ago. Why we hate HR. Why do people not trust the human resources department at a big company? Anybody? Yeah.
Because you're concerned that the HR department is more so looking after the company.
Yes? Anybody else? Pretty good one. Yeah. Yeah, you're just a cog in the wheel, right? You're just a number. You're employee number 14759. You're not employee number 6 with influence, and you go to the executive meetings and make decisions about what's going to happen to employee 14579. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, there's policies, right? Absolutely. Big companies have policies. Sexual harassment policies, how you treat other people policies, how you email a customer. You think that all the cell phones that a company gives you are being watched and monitored by the company? Yeah, I'm talking to an IST team right here. Of course they are, right? So there's a level of distrust in HR. So they asked somebody just recently, not that long ago, have you ever had a positive interaction with human resources? Wouldn't it be like 90%? This is the person who either hired you, recruited you, gave you the bonus or the commission. This is human resources. So the problem is that HR and employees still have a little bit of a distrust. Here's the perception. The white number is what the employer believes is happening, and the red number is what the employee believes is happening. So the employer says 70% of my employees are completely engaged, they're on task, and they love this place. And if you ask the same question for the employee, they're like, yeah, 34%. Is that a big gap? That's a huge gap, you guys. That is a massive misperception. I get fair benefits. Companies like, yeah, 71% of our people get great benefits. Only 50% of the employees agree. Compensation, a little closer. So that one, you expect that with me. This is basically employers thinking they're paying appropriately, employers not. This one I love. How many people would you recommend work for this company? And if you ask the employer, they're like, oh, 81% of our employees would say, it's great to work here. 81% is a high number. You ask the employees, what do they say? 38%. That means the flip side of that number, which is a big number, doesn't want to recommend the employer for work. how can you get referrals for jobs if your employees won't even refer their friends to the employer? That's a pretty big gap. So this is, again, the perception of HR. So here's the numbers. How many people like numbers? Yeah? So here's the numbers behind all of it. $85 billion is the total cap of all the money spent on recruitment and retention. Pretty big number? A lot of money. That's staffing agencies, that's employers, people like Verizon. I bet there's a piece of their budget to come here and talk at this IST event that's recruitment related, because they had an HR person in the Cybertorium this morning. And that HR person is probably going to say, hey, I need more interns. I need more people from Penn State that want to come work for Verizon. $8.9 billion is just on branding. So this is just me saying Verizon's a great place to work. Facebook's a great place to work. Google's a great place to work. Don't think for a minute that they didn't do that Google video movie with Ben Affleck, or no, who is it? Who's in the Google movie? Who's in it just recently? Thank you. Those guys. Don't think for a minute that Google didn't have a hand in the employment branding of that movie, even if they didn't approve all the content, right? 3.2% is the amount of corporate revenue spent on branding. Pretty small percentage, you guys. And 83% agree that employment brand significantly impacts the ability to hire great talent. I'm going to give you 2 company names. Raise your hand if you want to work for them. Google. Okay? Microsoft. Right lower. Why Google? If you raise your hand for Google, why Google? Anybody? But that's not a bad answer. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah? You have an affinity to Google. You use their stuff. You see their logo all the time. Every time you use Chrome, it's Google. Every time you use an Android phone, it's Google. You know kind of what they do and what they represent, right? I was in a meeting with Google, it was 6 or 7 years ago. And before teleconferencing was cool, they had a 6 screen. They had a screen here, a screen here, a screen here, a screen here. So 6 video screens. One guy was in St. Louis. One guy was in, I don't know, Bangalore. One person was in Dubai. They had 6 different people on video, and at the time I was representing Monster. And they said, look, we want to hire every PhD in your database. We want those resumes. We're willing to buy any resume from Monster that has a PhD in it. What they wanted the smartest people in the world working on their stuff. It's a pretty audacious goal, right? I'm going to take the best 5 of you in this room, not now, but create a relationship with you, and then when you all continue to do your study and get a PhD, then I want you to work for Google. They're one of the best, brightest minds for science. That's how you get an employment brand. You get a reputation. And I knew 6 or 7 people that worked at Google, and before I even walked into that meeting, I said, hey, what it's like to work here? And he goes, get ready. It's committee hiring. You're going to meet with like 15 people in one room and get grilled. But if you make it through that, and you're the PhD level that they want, and they hire you, then you're at Google. Then you've made it through, right? Microsoft, my wife worked for Microsoft for 7 years. Great place, incredible benefits, but obviously it's changed since she worked there. Still a great employer, but the perception is they're not quite keeping up, right? But what happens when they say, okay, I just released Office for iPad? What happened to Google stock when they did that? It jumped 6%. Now you're relevant. Now you're making products for a tablet. Now you're making Xbox, One type stuff again, right? It's the perception of the brand. So the brand really matters. So 18% is what the great companies with employer brands pay below average. So you want to work for these companies that have great employment brand, and great reputations? Well, they pay 18% lower than normal companies. Why? Because they can. They got all these people coming that want to work for them because they have a great brand, and they spend money on the brand. They spend $8.9 billion on the brand. And it costs me $15,000 to lose an employee, and it costs me $3,500 to hire you. So when you guys get hired, how many people have jobs already? Awesome. Good job. People who don't have a job, get one. You're gonna cost that company about $3,500 to hire you. If they lose you, guess how much money it costs? It's huge to lose an employee. I lost an employee a month ago, and it's taken me almost 60 days to hire him again. I'm in complete hell because I have to do his job and my job. Because I work for a startup. That's what happens. So keep in mind all these numbers when you're going through the talent acquisition process at a company, or when you're running a company or on the executive board of a company. It's very important. Anybody know who Pepsi is? Yeah, they just launched a huge brand thing called Possibilities. Why would they use the word possibilities for a recruitment campaign? Anybody? Any marketing minds in here? Take a guess? Maybe? Anybody else? Because they don't want you to think that I'm just going to work for Dasani Water and then drive a truck. Or I'm going to help sell more Frito-Lay products. They want you to think, when you join Pepsi, all these possibilities, you have all these careers. The challenge that Intel had a while back was that everyone thought they were a hardware company. Dun, 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 dun. There's a logo, right? The little jingle, the logo. But what do you guys know about Intel? They make a boatload of software. And software drives computers now, not hardware. The chip's the chip. You can drive all the data you want through the chip, but the software is what makes it work. You guys have Lenovo and Apple. I mean, there's so much software on these computers, it's unbelievable. So they wanted to brand themselves to social groups and mobile groups as having all these career possibilities. This is a cool slide. I'm assuming you guys all use social media. How many people use Instagram more than Facebook? How many people use Facebook more than Instagram? Still Facebook world? Okay. How many people use Twitter more than any of them? Twitter? I get my news from Twitter. I love Twitter. I didn't think Twitter was that great, and then I started following my local news, my sports teams, Penn State stuff, and now I get probably 80% of my news through Twitter. But here's the interesting thing. This is by far the biggest player in the market for social. They have 83% market share. Of all the time spent on the internet on a social network, Facebook has 83% market share. They have to really mess up to lose that position, right? For all the people reading and tweeting, they have 1.7% market share of all the time spent on social networking. That's because how long do you really read tweets for? I don't know, 3 minutes? Waiting for the bus? A couple minutes? At night, going to bed? You know, tonight, one of the IST people are going to be like, hey, who tweeted about the event? But then you don't go back to it unless somebody calls you back to it. Same thing with LinkedIn. I'm not going to go to LinkedIn proactively whenever I want to because the content is about my career or my professional friends. They have to tell me to go there. That's why they only have 1.3% market share. So if you're recruiting for people, and this is what you see, this is what the usage says, who are you going to hook up with? Yeah, they're all the people. Now, all those people looking for a job? No. They're reading their pictures of friends or family, or they're being social. So you have to figure out how to get in here professionally, and then get in here professionally. That's your challenge, right? And then how many people feel like right now, today, I should be able to find a job on my smartphone and apply on my smartphone? Raise your hand. Okay, so the expectation is you have to do it on a full computer, right? Yeah? So but what's happening is people are starting to expect to get that smartphone option. So Oracle built this cool site. It sits on Facebook. It's powered by us, obviously. And they have a job alert here. So I can actually sign up and get job alerts. And I don't just get emails. I get a Facebook alert that has me click on the Facebook little F icon, little alert, and then I get jobs notified to me through Facebook. So this is how careers are starting to integrate with social. And this is all mobile, so every job is mobile. Gap does the same thing. Gap actually hosts videos on Facebook. So if you have the full browser version and you're on Facebook, you can actually watch a video right there. You can add banners, you can add different things. And then this is the key, is culture. The reason why social networks are so popular with recruiting is because I can tell you a story about an employee in a way that I can't do on a regular website. So if I go to Royal Bank of Canada, you know, at any bank, it could be Wells Fargo, whoever, and then I want to look for a career, do you think I'm going to see an article on somebody who's a volunteer firefighterman on the weekend? No, but on Facebook, this is totally appropriate. I can put information about what charity we sponsor, what local person is doing good with the community, et cetera. So this goes back to cultural fit. This is this new buzzword. So if I'm going to hire somebody for my 75-person startup, and we have 30 people in San Francisco and 35 people in Paris, do you think I'm going to think about how they're going to interact with the rest of the people in the office? Yeah, of course. You're going to be working like a dog and going out on a happy hour with half the people from this office. You should be able to probably get along and have a personality fit. So this is what's interesting, is the social piece of recruiting is about giving you a little bit more cultural context of what it's like to work for that company. Who knows who Glassdoor is? Yeah. How many people have been to Glassdoor in the last month to research a company? Yeah. Why do you go to Glassdoor? Yeah, it's like a Yelp. You think you're going to get, unfiltered content. And does it matter? If somebody has a rant about a personality conflict, can you see through it and say, I guess they didn't like their manager? It doesn't mean it's a horrible place to work, but I'm getting more information about the company. One of the other speakers, we were having lunch, and he said when he interviews somebody about his company, they know more sometimes about his company than he does, because he's working. He doesn't look at all the press releases and know exactly how many employees. People are going to LinkedIn, flipping it, saying, oh, you have 270 people, because that's how many people are on LinkedIn. I'm assuming that's how many people work here at your company. And he's like, they're right. So there's so much more information about the company that as an employer, I have to be more thoughtful about how do I find the candidates. And this is just the age we live in. So that's first. That's why does talent matter in startup. Any other questions about kind of socially attracting people, using those the tools, and mobile? Questions so far? Remember, the more you talk, the better. What's in it for me? Okay, so who wants to make $100,000 next year? Who doesn't want to make $100,000 next year, right? Okay, so is money the most important thing? Yeah? If you hated your job, hated your boss, hated the city the job was in, but you made $100 grand in a year, how long do you think you'd last? Yeah, well, okay, you just told me your impression of any company based in downtown New York, in the financial sector, right? So you're saying Wall Street the movie, Wall Street the business? Yeah, does anyone else agree? How many people know people that work in Wall Street? Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, those guys, yeah. Is it pretty accurate? So if I read something on Glassdoor that says the opposite, and says, I know everyone thinks it's this job, but I have a job in IT for Goldman or Merrill Lynch or something else, but I think, the perception's wrong, and I want to tell you it's great here. Would that matter? Yeah? Now, what if the company put it on their website? Would it matter as much? Yeah, trust, credibility, right? Exactly right. That's my last slide. I love it. So, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? How to apply your core fundamentals to recruiting. So, is recruiting and finding people any different than finding customers? Anyone want to take a stab at that one? Can I learn anything from the marketing team while I'm looking for talent as an employer? Anybody? No? Is there any association at all, or is it, is it bread and meat and they only go together in a sandwich? Nothing? Okay. Must be late in the day and I'm putting you to sleep. So, you have to now give me an answer, or else you have to give me an answer, or else I'll give you mine. How can a startup compete in a trade? How can a startup named Work4, Work the number 4, which is my company, how can we compete with Facebook? How can I get anybody to work for my company when Facebook's building a campus with a dorm room and showers and basketball courts and basically going to pay your rent to live in their little community and and have you work all night with the same people that you work with and live with? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some people call that vision match. Your vision matches our vision. Let's vision together or work together. Anybody else? Yeah. Bingo. I am going to make a difference. I'll tell you one quick story. Well, who's the other person? Is another hand up here? Yeah. Yeah. We're going to disrupt what the big boys are doing. We're going to take what they do and make it look so inefficient and so bad that you can't help but want to work for my company. Who knows who Uber is? A few of you? Okay. Uber is disrupting the taxi industry. Who knows what Nest is? Yeah. Nest is disrupting ADT, Honeywell, all the people that make these big systems. And Nest lets you control your whole house from your phone. And you don't have to put all that infrastructure in place. You just put a couple cameras and stuff in there, and then Nest does the rest. So disruption is power and influence. So it's a great comment. Back in the room. So I was going to tell you about an experience I had with Amazon. So Amazon, my client, we were doing a pretty big campaign. Amazon needed to hire all these people for their fulfillment centers. So who has used Amazon in the last 6 months? Yeah, everybody. It's the best, e-commerce experience in the world, and they're super, super customer service focused. They do a great job. So they have to have people in the fulfillment centers when the shopping season starts in November. And they start hiring in September to train the people to be there in November to make sure the shipments get out, right? And they have this thing called Camper Force. This is wild. So they literally have these remote locations where the fulfillment centers are, and they can't get people to go to the fulfillment centers. They have so much work that needs to be done, they can't get people there. So they started to market themselves on Facebook, with Facebook advertising, to people that own RVs. And they call these workers Camper Force. Guess what they do? They pay your RV hookup fee at every campground around the fulfillment center for 4 months. So you're retired, you're old, you're hanging out in an RV, whatever. They rallied all these RV people, and it became like this wildfire thing. And everyone in an RV in America that wanted to make a little bit of money for 4 months drove out, stayed for free in their camper. Amazon paid their rent, basically, right? They're in a camper. And then they worked the fulfillment center. So temporary workforce. And the gal I was working with at the time was an Amazon intern. And I had no idea. I thought she was, really high-level marketing person. There's this really important job with all this, advertising for this Camper Force. And I called her up and I said, hey, I need the signed contract to run the next batch of ads. She goes, oh, I'm flying back to ASU. I'll call you when I land in Phoenix. I said, oh, okay, sounds good. I come to find out, she was an intern. She was a junior at ASU. And she had this massive marketing budget that she was responsible for. So it goes back to what you were saying was, I can be way more important in the startup and actually help make decisions about what the company's doing than if I'm a lower rung on the totem pole intern at a bigger company processing stuff for a bank. So that's exactly what you're saying. So we talked about leveraging social. We talked about using free channels. Is free better than fee? Yes? Okay, as a consumer. What about as an employer? If I post a job on a free website and nobody sees it, it's free. But if I pay money to post it on LinkedIn and 40 people see it and 10 people apply, is that better? Well, now I have applicants, but it costs me more money. This is the struggle. Do you use the free channel until you can't stand it anymore and you have to pay? Or do you just use the fee channel and you just absorb the cost? So a big company, they use the fee channel and absorb the cost right away because they can afford it. They have the budget for it. Startup, you have to use the free channel. So there's this weird thing happening in downtown San Francisco. All the startups are all using each other because they have free trials. We had free conference calling for 6 months. We had free slide share. You ever heard of ClearSlide or Join Me or any of those, right? Everyone was trying to sell their stuff and using everyone else's stuff. They're using our free Facebook app. They're using this, and that's what's happening is you're using the free channels before they start charging money. Do you think you have to have some kind of mobile offering for most of the candidates looking for work? Yeah? ComScore just came out with all the stats. It's pretty cool. 41% of everybody accessing the internet was on a smartphone at one point in a month. Right? There's a monthly statistic. 71% of Facebook is mobile. 70%. LinkedIn's 23, Twitter's a little higher. So yes, develop for mobile. You guys using Python, PHP? You guys getting into that yet? Yeah. Start developing that. Start learning that skill now. And applying should be easy, not hard. So if somebody says at the beginning of the application process to apply either for an internship or a full-time job, it says, this is step 1 of 22. What do you think? Yeah, I might not finish this. What else are they going to want me to do? What if it says, hey, it's going to take you 3 steps to apply. I need your email address. I need to sync your data from LinkedIn or Facebook or get some kind of third API data into the fields, and I'll let you attach your resume. Step 3, done. Now you're in the door. Are you going to finish that application? Yeah, I think so. And the dilemma for startups is that point you reach about 50 to 60 employees, and the friends and family referral program dies. You run out of people that really like you or your family or your employees to come work for your company. And now you're back up here going, oh, I gotta start paying for recruiting. Oh, it's so much money. And at 100 people, you have to buy an annual license to something. Monster, Career Builder, LinkedIn, you have to start engaging with a recruiter. How much do you think staffing agencies charge for a full-time job if they are, say, about 100 grand a year? Like if I just call a recruiter and say, I need a global sales manager for, in my San Francisco office, and then the starting salary is 90 grand a year. How much do you think I'm going to pay in fees to that recruiter? Anybody? Huh? Yeah, try 20, 25. That's painful, right? And then you can negotiate that, but that's a painful thing. Yeah. Great question. The answer is the employer usually does not care how you came in the door, but if you're referred, you're going to be a little higher. So if I know Chelsea from the customer service department and they refer Kathy, when Kathy comes in, Kathy's going to sit in the applicant tracking database as an applicant, but there'll be a star by her name because she knew an employee at the company. So some of these social tools I'm talking about, there's a little link on the page, and you can say, hey, see who I know at this company. I don't have to do anything. It's just plug it into Facebook or LinkedIn and say, hey, do I know somebody? Am I a first connection to somebody at that company? And that is how you start the referral process. But that's a great question. Usually, if you're referred, you're a little higher, kind of like, a little bit more important because you know somebody. Otherwise, the employer just looking at your skill set, your talent, and if you've gotten, somebody to validate that you're a good person and trustworthy. So the amount of content being shared on social is pretty crazy. And then all we're asking for is just to put a little job content in there. So just of the 34 million things shared every day on LinkedIn, just throw some jobs in there. Or 4.7 billion, just put some job content in there. Tweet a job. So if you got a Facebook message and it said, hey, I'm a recruiter from XYZ company. I've seen your background, and I want to talk to you about working at this company. If they professionally approach you, what do? You disregard it? Do you answer it? What do you think? Yeah, reverse research, right? Okay, who are you? Who did you say you were? Let me find out. Everything's public. I want to go on LinkedIn and see if you're a really recruiter. And if they are, then say, hey, great to talk to you. The point is, career messaging and career content and job content is relevant every time if it's targeted to what you want to do. If I work at a gas station, the night shift, just to get through college, and somebody says, hey, get this great job, you could be a paralegal at this law firm, and you'd have to move to New York. Well, I got to finish college first. Right? It's not a relevant offer. Now, if that person's in law school and they did their research, then hey, that may be a great way to get out of that horrible night shift job and to get into something else. But the career content that's being shared in social networks can be really effective if it's targeted, if it's targeted to people. So here's Groupon. So Groupon says, okay, we'll tweet, we'll message you on Facebook, we'll do LinkedIn. But every time we do it, there's going to be a big green G, or there's going to be something about the title. Here it is, new graduate. This could be you guys. Software development engineer, new graduate, San Francisco. Who wants to move to San Francisco and work for Groupon? Couple people? Yeah? I'm surprised at how many people want to stay in the Northeast, by the way, just FYI. I'm from California. So this is tweeted, and now I can share it, I can highlight it, I can favorite it. This is on LinkedIn. It'll have a link here. You can go right to the application and apply on the job, and this is Facebook. So you're consistently seeing a branding. So they're not just using social and targeting people. By the way, when they post to Facebook, this could be an ad. This could be messaged directly to a person. LinkedIn, it could be an ad. That could be just a post on somebody's wall. And the whole idea is that it's free distribution. It doesn't cost me anything to post to LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. It's a free social share. And so what we do as a company is like we kind of train recruiters and say, well, just post a job. You never know who knows who and who it might be shared with. This is driving 3,000 applies every 6 months for Oracle. All they do is have the recruiters share jobs in their social networks. Everyone knows they're a recruiter. They know that's their job. And as long as they don't spam people, I'm putting relevant content about job opportunities on the internet. I can't piss anybody off. And then, you know, how do you do this, right? In that same message that you showed your Groupon. So this is an Oracle example. This is a SAP example. This is a Vistaprint. You've probably heard of Vistaprint. What you don't know about Vistaprint is they have a great IT department and need a lot of technology people. So I chose them. So social presence, free. If I want to target ads, it's cheaper than you think, but you got to pay a little bit of money. So it's back to the, you know, I came from Facebook. Am I higher in the rank? No, you're just a candidate. And as long as your skills match and the recruiter likes you, you're good. And organic. This is share jobs to the social networks. And then once I have somebody interested in the job, what is my big goal as an employer? What do I have to do? I have to get you to apply. If 10,000 people look at a job and nobody applies, who cares? You're not in the database interested in the work. I have to get you to convert, which is why we do roughly 20-25 conversion rate on everything we do for companies. Pretty good. 1 out of 4. That means that the people reading the job had some kind of matching skill set to decide to apply. And if I make it easy and I make it mobile and it's socially friendly, this conversion rate can jump to 45%. So Accenture, we did a program with Accenture and said, okay, let's just say I agreed to a privacy clause, I give you my email address, and now I'm in your database, interested in work at Accenture. If that's all I ask you to do, and you like the job you just read, and you like Accenture, and you like what they stand for and the project work they do, then you'll convert. Our standard for conversion is 13%. So if you're an employer, I don't care if you have 5 people or 50,000 people, you want 45% of the people to read the job to register or apply to the job. And if it's not mobile, guess how many people abandon the process? 40%. So would you rather close 40% of the candidates that you talk to, or would you rather lose 40%? These are pretty simple numbers, guys. So as candidates entering the workforce, just remember all this next time you're going through the employment process. Did they say something that was targeted to me? Did they care about me? Is it easy to apply to the job? Is there all kind of process and red tape, and I should never be involved with them again? And here's the mobile trend. So these are real numbers. This is pretty cool stuff. This is Accenture in Europe, Asia Pac, Canada, from North America, or Singapore. So the percentage of job views coming from mobile devices in Singapore is 47%. You think you better have a website that shrinks to the screen or is responsive? Yeah, I think so. You better be able to do all the things that they might want to do in your career site on a mobile phone, if almost 50% of the people, because you're going to lose the 40%, and 40% of 50% is 40% of the people. But in North America, it's 33, and 8, and that, I guess that's why you guys didn't raise your hands about mobile apply yet. Europe and Asia Pac is slower. And here's the interesting thing, Latin America. Do people in Latin America, can they afford an iBook? Pretty well off to pay, that much money for a computer. What happened in India and Latin America is they skipped the laptop, they skipped the desktop, they went straight to the mobile device. My mom uses a hockey puck from Verizon and a tablet from Verizon, and she doesn't have a computer. What does my 73-year-old mother need a computer for? She needs a screen. She needs a tablet. She needs a computer. So Latin America, 63%, you guys, of all the job views Intel gets are mobile. So they better come up with a way to close those. And globally, the entire jobs that Intel pays is 26%. So am I going to market and recruit differently in Latin America because of this? Yeah, this is big data. This is how you learn from big data to make decisions. So questions for what's in it for me, the organization? Social, mobile, all make sense? Good stuff? Yeah? A lot of people don't know about how recruitment works from the employer side. They just know the experience they have as an employee. Yeah? So there's 2 different ways to do it. Corporately, I can tweet on my corporate channel. So people following Verizon would see the tweet. And Verizon, I'm assuming, has Verizon Wireless, Verizon Corporate, Verizon Fios. I mean, they have different brands and different tweets, right? So corporately, you could tweet, you could put it on your LinkedIn wall or your Facebook wall, right? But if a recruiter decides to do it, yes, it is to their personal network. Now keep in mind that recruiters might have 2 Facebook pages, or they could get a second one, and so they could post it to their followers on the professional Facebook, and then their personal is over here separate. But yes, that's the theory, is that it could be Tumblr, it could be Pinterest, wherever the content would go, is that's not a bad thing because I'm just trying to match somebody to a job. I don't care how fast it happens or who sees it. You just don't want to spam, right? You can't tweet every hour a job. Nobody's going to follow that tweet stream, because once I find a job, I'm not interested in job content anymore. The key is a lot of people have a job already right now, and then you want to get them interested in your job, or interested enough to share the job with somebody else. Does that make sense? Sort of? Okay. So last thing I want to cover is what's the goal. So I have all this knowledge, I have all this data, I'm learning about, who uses what to recruit for a job, and this is where I come back to marketing. It's a funnel, and anybody who tells you differently is lying. The funnel includes referrals, the funnel includes social candidates, the funnel includes job board candidates, the funnel includes anything. A candidate's a candidate, a candidate. But marketing and recruiting are kind of similar. I'm trying to attract candidates and convert them to hires, right? That's the goal. And then as a marketer, I'm attracting prospects and converting them to clients. Kind of the same process. It's not a whole lot different. There's your vision, your common vision you're talking about, concentration in the future, externally focused, some of job responsibilities. So have you ever heard the term lead nurturing? No? Okay, so if I was talking to the SMEAL people in business, they'd be like, oh, of course. Take a lead and you nurture it, and you have them talk to this person, and they find out they want to invest this much money in the solution, and they move along the sales pipeline to this process. So this is what this is. This is a sales, how do I treat a lead at a company, no matter who it is. This could be a lead coming in that you send a mailer for Verizon Fios and say, oh, I'm interested in having your TV product versus cable. So 25% of the leads are legitimate. So I got to filter out 25%. 75% is not even worth my time. So again, put your recruiting hat on. 75% of the people that apply to a job are what? A waste of my time. Same thing with sales. 50% of the 25% are qualified, but they're not ready to buy. So 50% of the candidates of the 25% are good matches, but I got to pull them from another job. So what do? How do I create a relationship with them? What's your first name? Mac. So how do I keep Mac interested? He's qualified. Oh man, I want you to work for us. But you're not going to leave, are you? Not yet. Oh, what do I have to do, Mac? Is it money? Is it are you married? Do I have to make sure you get a new home? How do I get you? We really want you to work for us. Right? And then you gotta create a relationship with Mac. But not with Mac, with 15,000 Macs for 12,000 different jobs, right? So this is how you nurture people. Accenture, big companies that have a lot of hiring to do all the time. They literally have an alumni list, either on LinkedIn or separate, or they have a career newsletter. And the career newsletter goes out to you guys, 35,000 people. Why in the heck would I care about Accenture's career newsletter? And what the heck is in that newsletter that I would want to read? If I'm in the business, though, of SAP integration or consulting, I am going to find out a lot about Accenture through that email, and I might want to register and get that information. So we have a talent pool. We create a talent pool of people, just like a sales pool of people who might buy our product, and I nurture them, and I send them an email or a newsletter or whatever it is, and I create this relationship with Mac. So Mac's like, all right, I'll keep on talking to you, right? I'm semi-interested. And then 20 to 50% of those go to the vendor that responds first. So when you are really pissed at your boss or you're ready to move, who are you going to talk to first? The person who showed interest in me for that amount of time. Exactly right. So I would argue that lead nurturing is about understanding the nuances of the lead's timing and your needs. And it's the same thing with talent. It's the same thing with employees. So here's your funnel. I need this many people interested in the job. This many people are qualified. This many people actually I'm going to talk to and do a phone screen. I have that many people presented to the hiring manager to say, here's the chemistry, here's the fit, here's the skills, and I'm going to interview 3 to 5 people. Is that efficient? You get 300 to 500 resumes in, and I have to boil them down to 3 to 5? How the heck do I do that? How much time does that take? How long do you think somebody reads your resume for? Raise your hand. Anybody? Go ahead. Yeah, it's less. Go ahead. Yeah, I think it's 12. That's about how fast I read a resume. What are you doing today? What did you do before today? Where did you go to school? What's your degree? And where do you live? 7 seconds. All right, you're in San Jose, so that means you can make it to the San Francisco office. Okay, who'd you work for? Oh, I've never heard of them. All right, do a little research. Oh, SaaS provider. Okay, that's a fit. All right, task, Mara, please set up an interview for a phone screen. 12 seconds. Next resume. Oh, they live in New York. Gone. That was only took me 3 seconds. Oh, they live in San Francisco. Oh, they're an SVP. Overqualified. Gone. Right. That's what happens. That's how fast your resume gets reviewed. And because of this inefficiency model, they have so many resumes. Now, if they don't have enough resumes, then it gets more efficient. Okay, so here's some marketing research. The bad news, and when he says our industry, he's talking about recruiting, is that periodically people forget that they're notoriously bad at telling the truth. I solemnly swear I have forgot to tell a candidate that we weren't offering them a job for at least 2 business days. Horrible candidate experience. And that person will remember, oh, that CJ guy. He told me I might get an offer, and he disappeared for 4 days. And I had to email him back and say, CJ, what's going on? I thought I was going to get an offer. Oh, so sorry, we chose somebody else. 50% of the people who go through an interview process, they never hear back from the recruiter. It's a horrible experience. So as an industry, because we have that many candidates to go through and that many people to interview for that many open positions, you just can't be Mr. Nice Guy to everybody. So there's going to be times when you guys reply to a job and you never hear back from somebody. Does that happen already? Yeah, quite a few of you? You hold it against the company a little bit? Yeah, I'm a human being. I want to work at your company. I'm skilled. I'm a talented guy, gal. I want to work for you. At least tell me you don't like me, right? At least do something. Respond and let me know you got my resume. Tell me something. But this is the problem, right? When you do finally get an employee, do engagement surveys, do onboard assessments, talk to them. Are you happy? Do you like your boss? Focus groups, initial collaboration. You know, you ever heard of Yammer? Yeah, Yammer's a great internal tool for companies, right? Just like as a collaboration tool. Company reviews, finance, you know, a lot of companies say, okay, we're paying you $65,000 a year as a first-year IT guy or gal. And, you know, we just did a research study in New Jersey where you work, and we're underpaying you. You think they're going to say, oh, you know what, we're going to pay you that extra $7,000 because the average salary should be 72. No, you got stuck at 65, man. They're not going to make you bump to 72 until they give you goals to meet and then prove that you met those goals, and then you get your bonus, or then you get your raise, right? And third-party vendors will tell them, you know, how much money they should be paying you. And social media, word of mouth, so Glassdoor, you know, 17 people put on Glassdoor. I just found out this company underpays. You don't think the company that seeking those notices are not going to do something about it? That's that truth that happens. This is all stuff that big companies do that small companies typically don't. So the retention issue, one of the big things about this talk, if you remember nothing else, is that it is really hard to keep all of your employees happy and retain them. It is exhausting to do 360 peer reviews, to do, you know, what do you want to do in 3 years, create that career path. It's a big, big, big investment in you. So let's create some brand advocates, right? So we're back to Pepsi again. If a company keeps its employees happy, and somebody asks, hey, what's it like working for Pepsi? Oh, man, it's awesome. Here's why. Bam, 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 bam. What's your employment brand feedback on Pepsi at that point? It could be good or bad. It could be that person has a good job, but I still don't like Pepsi, right? It could be whatever your personal brand experience is. But if I have people engaged, and more than just surveying them, I take the time to get to know my A players, and I find out what's keeping them at Pepsi and what keeps them motivated, I'm going to be a better employer, and I'm going to have better employees. The brand advocates, be an enabler. Provide tools and not red tape. Right? It's going to take me all this effort just to get, extra benefits or just to get a bonus or whatever, I'm not going to go through the extra effort. I'm just going to start looking for another job. I just don't like the process. But if I enable you and say, hey, I want you to mentor Mac. What's your first name? Mike. Mike, I want you to mentor Mac. I know you want a management job, but let's do this. Instead of doing this, I'm going to have you kind of mentor him, learn how hard it is to manage Mac, or how easy, get along, and after 6 months, you tell me if you like Mike, and you tell me if you're ready for management. Would you stick around for 6 months? No. You'd leave. Okay. So what else would it take? Okay, if you don't have a job, I'm saying you're a happy employee.
I am happy.
You're a happy employee, and then you're like, hey, CJ, I want to be a manager. But I don't have a management position. So if I gave you that mentoring opportunity, instead of just said no.
Yes.
The company's enabling me to become a manager. But if I have no management experience, I can't just create a manager out of you, right? Because it could fail. And then that $15,000 thing's come back and bite me in the butt, right? But if I give you a career path and enable you, then, you have a reason to stick around, and I have a reason to actually, backfill a manager when a manager leaves. So this is what they're called brand advocates, enable them. And then brand builders, know your business, know what it's like to work in different departments. We do this cool thing called Live My Life at Work4. So I just got an email this morning. There's a person in marketing that is going to, for a day, become part of the service support team, or what we call client success. So we're going to take Adrian, we're going to move him in there, and I'm going to stick him with my customer service manager, and then they're going to play customer service. And they're going to learn about customer service, answer emails, draft stuff, do reports, all that stuff. And my customer service person is going to go over and learn marketing. Why do we do that? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So expose that person to the other department. Thanks for coming. And then expose the other person to another department so you actually have the ability to learn from the different point of view. And, I think more importantly, do you like that field? Would you want to work in marketing? Would you want to be, client success team member, et cetera? So it's really important. And this is kind of the bottom line for retention. You got to pay people. That's the easy fix, right? It's pretty simple. If you have a lot of money and you're big, you can do that. If you're a startup, you don't have a lot of money, you can't pay your people whatever they want. Win on word of mouth. This is walking the walk, talking the talk, winning the fight on the ground, really getting your employees to believe that you care about them, which hopefully they do. So treat your people well. Richard Branson has a great quote. He goes, customer service is really easy. Take care of your people, and they'll take care of your customers. Sounds great, right? Is it easy to take care of, 3,400 customer service people on Virgin? For music, for airline, all that stuff? It's a pretty hard job. But he's right. That's that simple. Win the share of voice. This is when you train your people as brand ambassadors, the informal learning, and they like the company and chat about it or share jobs, then you're winning. You're winning at that point. The sentimental analysis, so make it aspirational. Make it so that there's somebody who's always willing to do something more. So we have a bunch of French interns that come in from Paris, and there's a tech school called Polytechnique. It's like the MIT of Paris. And so we get these interns. The French government kindly pays us to have them, so we don't pay for them from here, but they get the chance to go to San Francisco and work, in San Francisco for 6 months. And they are given all kinds of responsibilities. They're given aspirational work. Even if they leave Work4 at 6 months and go back to school or go back to another company, they're going to remember Work4 because they're like, wow, I was the head of a product, and I was developing a product for 6 months. They didn't just have me pour coffee for people or be an assistant. I actually did work that was meaningful there. And then if you win trust, you win talent. So it's pretty simple. How am I doing on time? 1 minute? Okay. So, you're the head of talent acquisition. You win a big deal, and they're like, hey, we just signed this huge deal. I need 5 people in 30 days. If you don't have a social marketing plan, a great mobile website, the ability to get that subscription, if you don't have a subscription already, you're like, do what? 5 people in 30 days? Is that possible to even hire 5 people in 30 days? They have to give 2 weeks notice at their employer, right? So it means you got to find people in 14 days. And then you got to set up training for these 5 people. If you're a startup, you probably don't have training. You can't bring. You got to figure out how to onboard 5 people, and then all those other slides I just covered beforehand come into play. How am I going to win them? Learn what they want. Fit them into the program. They're just 5 people. And am I going to hire 5 people to keep 3? Maybe. What if the partner deal doesn't work out? What happens to those 5 people? Business is back to normal. Let's say there's a snag in the legal agreement. And all of a sudden that partner deal is going to be stopped. And I can't do work because legally I can't do work because the state of Connecticut told me this, this, and that, and the other. So I can't actually bring you guys on board. But I really want you to work here as soon as the legal snag gets worked out. So 15,000 times 5 is a big number. I'm out 15,000 times 5. And then 5 people don't like my company. So you can't really do this, in my opinion, if you're looking for talented full-time people. Part-time, retail, of course. You can find people in the street, college kids. You can fill, you know, the gal that sold me my Jimmy John sandwich. She's replaceable, right? But if it's somebody who's leading a product or an IT, very important project, it's going to be really hard to hire this many people. So this is kind of the message. Take care of your customers, right? And then take care of your people. And that's the bottom line. So think as an employee, whoever you end up working for, June or whenever you start, how can I make this place better by giving the HR or my manager feedback? How can I really make this a great place to work? And then how am I not helping brand this company and tell people how great it is to work here? So become an employer or brand ambassador. And I was just telling, I think one of these other students, I said, no matter where you go to work, be the best Mac you can be at that company. Don't let all the other noise and all the other people in the employee room chirping like, I can't believe Joe didn't give me the raise. I can't believe this. It's just noise. Do your work, do it well, treat people well, and then think about, okay, is this a great place to work? Should I mention it to somebody else? How can I make it easier to grow this company and help them and contribute to this company and make it easier for them to basically hire the next great Mac or Chelsea or whoever it is. Is this realistic? Yeah? One more story, and then we'll go to questions. So I have a gal that reports to me. She sits in Paris. She's Swiss. Never met her before. So interviewed her via Google Hangout. She's worked for me for 5 months now. I've done reviews with her, everything else. I know 5 people who have gone to Paris and met her in person. I know she's real. Right? I've never physically met her. So how do I keep her engaged? And she does something that's specifically for another division of our company, and she sits in the tech office and all tech people, and she does targeted advertising on Twitter and Facebook, and she does something completely different than most of the people in that office. So any thoughts? How do I keep her engaged? Anybody? This goes back to global. No? We'll have weekly one-on-ones. I do it via video. So I know for one day she had to dress up and go to work, right? And then I give her challenges. I give her tasks. I keep her engaged. And I asked her, I said, do you like working here? She goes, I love it. Does she love it because CJ's her manager? No, she loves it because I give her something to do that she wants to do, and I ask people in the Paris office, how's she doing? And I got her to do a live the life, and I got her to go to a conference, and we paid for it to keep her engaged with the type of work she's doing. So my last thing to say is obviously take care of your people as your employer, but also manage up. Ask more of your managers. Ask for reviews. How am I doing? How can I do better? How can I get ahead? How can I get that next job? Be focused on being the best employee you can be. I think the rest of it will take care of itself. And if you need help, raise your hand. Because if you're buried with work and you don't tell somebody, it's going to fall on your shoulders because you didn't raise your hand and say, I need help. Usually, I think most of you guys are going to be working in a team environment, and it'll be pretty obvious. You're not going to have one person, just buried. Like in the case of a salesperson, it happens. Salesperson's like, I can't do all the work. I need help. Cool. Is this helpful? Yeah? A little different slant than straight tech. That's kind of the talent side of tech. So I'm done, and open up to questions for anybody. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I just wanted to see about like possible feedback. Do you think that there are some companies out there, like for example, they're so high up that you say something, then it really wouldn't matter that much because like there are like
Is it
some
risky to
companies-
give feedback that's too
Yeah,
honest? Is that the question?
that's someone.
Huh, that's interesting. So I think it's risky to go above your manager to somebody else and give feedback and not tell your manager. So there's a culture in certain organizations of, hey, don't go too above me. Now, I work for a startup where the CEO is my manager, and so if they ever make me to report to someone else, I'm going above them because I have a relationship with this person. So if you have tenure or you've worked for another manager, I think it's okay to go back to that manager and tell you about it. But don't do it in a way that you're like, I can't stand her or him, and I need to tell somebody. That's the water cooler stuff. But if you have positive feedback that you know in your heart is the right thing for the company to do, I would provide it. I think if you create so much fear in a culture that that you don't allow whistleblowing or you don't allow any feedback, that's the company's fault. Then that's not the vision match. I don't know who said it, but somebody said the vision has to match. You have to believe what the company's doing and then also the policy. It's a very good question, and you will probably be challenged the next 4 years with one of those decisions. And you're going to have to either go to bed that Thursday night and say, it's not worth it, it's noise, or you're going to say, this matters. This really matters, and I need to tell somebody about it. And then that's when I would triangulate with other people and say, hey, you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? And that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means that, yeah, I believe so too. And they're going to be looking at you like, you're not going to say anything, are you? Right? But that's when it comes down to you and your belief and your ethics system and, your manager. So hopefully if you're a good enough manager, I want all the feedback in the world. It's going to make me a better manager. It's going to make my company better. Not all managers think like me, though. That's a good question. Anything else? Yep. So small market versus big market? Yeah, I mean, that just goes back to how confident you are that you're the best candidate, right? Uh-huh. Oh, so if I lived here and I was recruiting for people to work. Oh, I see. So you're going to start your own business. You're like, should I even tap into my peers, or should I tap into people outside State College and bring them in here, or just the whole gamut? The whole gamut. So I would say, did everyone hear that question? Yeah? Okay. So I would say that it's got to be somebody that you trust that's going to stick with you through thick and thin. Because it's somebody who you want to grab them for just their talent alone. Let's say you're the tech person, but you need a salesperson, and so you grab somebody you like that's a salesperson. If there's not a bond there that early in a company, like your first 4 hires, then that's like a band, right? As soon as they have one problem, the drummer leaves. All of a sudden, oh, that was the key piece to our band. You need somebody that you really trust, and they have to give you more contribution than you can give, right? Because if you hire just you, and you're all going to make the same decision all the time, you're going to miss all the other stuff that's really important about the business. So I would cross-pollinate. You probably need a sales and marketing person. You probably need an operations person, and you probably need tech people. At some point, those are the 3 things if you're starting a tech company. And if they don't offer something else that you don't have, then I wouldn't, make them one of your initial hires. And then you have to actually trust them. Certain VCs, like in a startup, they have something called an employment contract. It's not, it usually only happens at an executive level. And that says, you are my employee for 2 years. It's kind of like a baseball contract. You have a contract now with me. If you leave or if I let you go, you get severance. But typically, below, say, like the SVP or EVP level, you don't have an employment contract. You just have an offer letter and the ability, you have the right to work for that company. If that makes sense. But do your legal homework too. You don't want to actually have people join your company and not have a legal contract that allows you to have power to fire them or whatever. Because all these startups, they happen in the Taco Bell parking lot, right? It's just buddies. And stuff gets really heavy. You guys have all seen the Facebook movie, and it gets really legal really fast. Because everyone wants to know what the value of their shares are, they want to know what the equity is, all that stuff. Just make sure you're legally sound. And you don't have to pay a lot. You can go to, LegalZoom or in one of the places, just get a decent employment contract and you get the Word document and change it. But I don't know if that helps or not. That was my advice. Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah, so we use a small company called Resumator. There's JobVite. There's cloud startups that do ATSs, so applicant tracking systems. So it depends on how rigorous the application and review is, but I would say 95% of every company in the world has an automated system, and if you're still on email, it's so inefficient, you're going to have to get a system. Smart Recruiters, ZipRecruiter, there's all these startups that are free right now. So you can literally get a free applicant tracking system, and why would you not do that? And then if you find out it's horrible, you can go get another free one. Right? This is back to the San Francisco startup thing. It's like, well, keep on getting a new free one. Drop that contract, get another free contract. And you can do that for a while. And then if you get a full-time HR person, recruiter, and you reach like 50, 60 employees, I have 52 people that have applied to this one job I'm hiring for, and I go on, even my mobile phone. I was just doing it in the speaker lounge when I was looking at resumes. So if you're just looking at emails and resume attachments, it's just not as efficient. And the technology, you guys, is so good on the HR tech side. The benefits, the tracking, the compensation, all that stuff is now on Workday, kind of brought everybody to the cloud, and those services are awesome. And they're not that expensive. I think we pay like $190 a month for ours or something. It's pretty affordable. Yeah. Any questions? Talent, recruitment?
We have a question
Yeah.
from our online audience.
Yep.
Someone wants to know, what is the most rewarding thing about what you do?
Me? Two things. One is I really like managing people that love what they do and want to be part of the organization that I work for. So I get, I was in a frontline sales capacity for so long and had a manager that said, CJ, you're a natural coach. Why don't you go into management? I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want the responsibilities. I have to fill out all the peer paperwork. I'll do all the reviews. HR headache. I was listening to all the reasons not to do it instead of listening to all the reasons to do it. And so, strike one, I said, no, I don't want to do it. He asked me again, like 7 months later, and says, I really need a strong manager. And again, somebody said it. I would be elevated from the top sales team of the company to managing the top sales of the company. It's pretty rare. Usually they bring somebody from the outside who's had sales experience. And I said, I don't want to do this. And he was like, okay. And then he called me after the sales conference. He goes, all right, third strike. Do you want to manage or not? I said, I think I'm ready. And it was the best thing I ever did because I get to now influence and really be part of someone's life. Because you can work next to somebody and know them, but when you manage them, it's a different relationship. And if you create a trust there, it's like a friendship and you just happen to be their manager, it works out really well. And the other thing I love about my industry is I go to bed every night because I work in recruiting. Somebody probably has a job because of the work I did that day. Right? Those jobs got posted. Somebody applied to them. When I worked at Monster, we had this kind of unwritten marketing rule. We carried literally like Trotsky's Monster stuff in our bags, and I flew all over the country. I'd literally run into people. They'd sit next to me on the plane, and I'd tell them who I worked for. They're like, oh, I just got my job on Monster. And they were all excited, right? That's that new job. Like, I just got the job I wanted through your service. And you literally would pull out a Monster t-shirt and say, here you go. Congratulations. Here's now go brand my company, and here's my thank you to you. Right? And we give them pens and shirts, whatever it is. So that always made me feel good, is to have the ability to, feel like I contributed to somebody getting a job. Now, if you did, I don't know, work to make somebody, I guess, richer or something. There's just such an altruistic thing about recruiting that I like, in addition to working with my employees. No? More? We're good? Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.